Well, hey everyone, welcome back to Tailwind Talks. We are officially into season 2 of Tailwind Talks, and we took a little break, and we're really happy to be back and with you. For first-time listeners or repeat listeners, just a reminder of why are we here and why do we do this. We're really trying to give an inside look at the inner workings and the people who make Tailwind Group function and grow from the inside. Something that we developed over the last year, and we did several episodes in 2024. And we are excited to bring you new guests and new content as we roll into 2025. You know what Tailwind does on the real estate side, and the goal of this is to really get in a more intimate behind the scenes look of the people that have made that happen and that are making that happen. So excited to welcome you back to season 2. And our first guest is the lovely Krystal Pierce. And we're excited.
Very
Krystal,
excited.
first podcast.
First podcast. Watch them all, of course. Always so fun.
She's taking lots of notes. She's
lots
ready.
of notes. Yeah, really ready to go.
So Krystal is our Vice President of Investor Relations and also serves as the company's General Counsel. So 2 vitally important roles, and we'll talk a lot about that. And really, you're just going to hear a lot of Krystal's story and how she got to where we are today and what her and her team do. And we're excited to bring that to you today.
Backstory. I'm a farm girl. Grew up in Illinois. My dad does just regular farming of grain and vegetables and stuff. And of course, helped him out. We're a red tractor family. So that was always the claim to fame.
But you wore green today.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's March.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I know. Don't tell Dad. But grew up in Illinois, and when you grow up on a farm, you're instilled a work ethic. It's work hard, do whatever it takes, do the right thing. So I'm very lucky to have, been raised by a couple of parents that really instilled that work ethic and faith and relationships early on. Went to undergrad, started out in Illinois, went down to South Carolina. Graduated from University of South Carolina, then decided to go to law school. And I decided to go to law school while I was actually at a junior college where I started my college career. And I actually started to go to law school because I wanted to go to the FBI. So they said a great path for that was to be in law school. And as a female in FBI, that's your path. And that was my path for honestly a really long time. And then I end up in law school, and then you kind of think about, well, gosh, I want a family. I don't know if I want to be uprooted all the time. So you do a little bit of a switch of what means the most to you. And I ended up not taking that path.
Okay. So take me through, how did we go from growing up in Illinois, junior college in Illinois, Columbia, South Carolina?
Yeah.
How did we end up in Columbia, South Carolina?
Oh, now we're getting deep. No,
that's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. No, actually, the town I grew up in, which I think a lot of people, especially at Tailwind, could relate to, was small, real small town, but a great town. But it was a place where everyone knew me, my family, just your typical small town USA. And I had some friends that were in South Carolina, so I just wanted to see what the whole path was like, to get away from home, to be independent, and to see the South. And I fell in absolute love with it. It's always on my top 2 list is to get back.
Yeah.
I do have the heart in the South. I love it.
Awesome. So undergrad, completed your degree at South Carolina. So to go the law school path, what was your undergraduate study?
Political science.
Political science.
Whatever could get me through. I mean, it honestly was just a matter of, I knew I wanted to get there. I didn't do anything pre-law. I just did what interested me.
Yeah.
So history background, I liked history, so I did a little bit of that. I like politics, so I did a little bit of that. It's just whatever interested me, because you can honestly get to law school with anything.
Okay, got it. So did you meet anyone down in South Carolina while you were there? Happen to meet anyone?
Yeah, I happened to meet my husband. So he was in the Air Force at the time. So we met, and that he's from Minnesota. So that's why I came up here.
So he was flying.
He didn't fly. He was a mechanic on the F-16. But then he was doing his flight school while he was in the Air Force, started it. And then when he came back home, then he finished all his flight training, and now he's a pilot.
Okay, awesome. So I'll jump around a little. I want to
Okay.
go back to the FBI thing because that's interesting.
Yeah.
What was the FBI dream? Like, what did you vision your
To be
life?
a field agent.
So, like what we see on TV?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Criminal law always interested me. So when I was in my first 2.5 years of college, I did a lot of forensics and criminalistics and, all of that type of stuff. I thought it was fun.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was interesting. Never dull.
It's just fun to see how, like, what that dream was
Yeah.
to now,
Real
raising
estate.
capital and running the legal
Yeah.
practice for a
Yeah.
real estate,
Yeah.
investment and management company.
Yeah.
A far cry, but
Yeah.
the journey and path is interesting to hear. So
Yeah.
you met Luke.
Yep.
You guys agreed to route back to Minnesota, or
Yeah.
what got you back to Minnesota? And I know you went to law school in Minnesota, so
Yeah.
take us from undergrad to back to Minnesota.
It's actually kind of fun. He was finishing his college at the same time too as I was finishing undergrad, and it was kind of a matter of a path of, do we go Illinois or do we go Minnesota? So it's who gets accepted first. He was actually trying to get into the Air Guard as a pilot and find that pathway, and I was at the Attorney General's office at the time. That's where I was working, and I was on the campaign for governor. So helping them out with that process. And if we won the governorship, I was going to stay because I was going to be in the governor's office. But we lost.
Okay.
And I looked to then apply for law school, and I got accepted. And we decided that that was the better path to take. And so I uprooted.
Okay. So where was law school?
William Mitchell. Now I think it's Mitchell Hamlin. So up in St. Paul.
Okay. So you got accepted to law school, and that kind of drove the
Yeah.
decision for the family that this is where we're going to live.
Drove the decision. So I applied for law school. I moved up in April of 2003. We got married in August of 2003, and I started law school a week later. I just wanted to get it over with, not the wedding. I mean, that was great, but but you don't want to plan a wedding while you're trying to start law school. So.
Sure. Oh, that makes sense. So how was law school? I know that I could never do it.
Yeah. Oh,
I
you
don't-
could.
no.
Everybody could. It's a grind. It really was. And the way that I had to do it is I had to work while I was in law school. It just was the path that we had to do. And we lived in Cleveland, Minnesota, so not too far from here. And I drove up to St. Paul and did the night classes and did part-time for the first 2.5, 3 years. And then shifted full-time because while I was in law school and able to work, I got a job at the Nicollet County Attorney's Office and as a law clerk. And it was also a full-time law firm as well. So doing that drive and doing the night classes, they actually wanted me to hurry up and get done because they wanted to offer me a full-time position. And I then could practice under the student practice rules and actually do some criminal cases. So I did the part-time, shifted to full-time, was able to graduate, and then started at that law firm and with the Nicollet County Attorney's Office.
So from start of law school to that first full-time job, how many years does that take?
It was 4 for
Okay.
me.
So
Yeah.
about 2007 was
Yeah.
law school's done, and you have your first
Yep.
real
Yeah.
lawyer job.
Real lawyer job. Yeah.
Okay.
Doing all the private practice. So we did real estate. That was one of my focuses, of course. Estate planning, corporate law. But then it was heavier for me when I first started into the criminal practice. So a lot of the petty misdemeanors, gross misdemeanors, that prosecution.
Okay. And how long were you at that job, the Nicollet County, in that office and in that capacity? How long did you do that? What did you love about that? And what was next after that?
Well, obviously with the FBI, the whole criminal law,
Mhm.
and that was the part that intrigued me the most. I truly loved it. I loved being in court. I loved prosecution, but it's just not very family friendly. After I have a couple of boys and Luke is flying a lot, the judge, jury trials have to happen. You can't, it's not very calendar friendly.
Sure.
But I was at the county attorney's office probably for 6 years. Then I went full-time private practice and was with that law firm for about 11 years
Okay.
in total.
So 6 years there takes us to 2013. And then
Yeah.
what was your private practice and how did you make that decision and what did you do there? What was that like?
I at that point that I was able to be partner at the law firm, it was really fun. I mean, it was great working with all the clients, helping them through their problems, taking care of situations. It was all estate planning, the boring stuff, the non-drama stuff, I should say. Estate planning, real estate transactions, business organizations, anything a business would have or need on a contract level, just very transactional law.
Sure.
But it was a great place to grow up. I mean, I grew up in an amazing small town law firm. Grew up there as a practice, grew up there. I mean, honestly, even as an adult, both boys, when I had them and they were born, I was able to bring them to the office every now and then, just pass them around secretary to secretary while I met with clients. And it really, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about working with people. I learned a lot about, the relationship piece with the clients, because that's what brought them back.
Yeah. So jumping into the family a little bit, and you mentioned 2 boys.
Yep.
So tell us about your family now.
Sure. I'm very blessed with 2 amazing boys. Jonathan is 16. Landon is 13. I sometimes accidentally text Landon Smith to clean his room if I'm doing it too quickly, and I'm telling my youngest to do that. But that's always kind of the joke. But they're great. They're your typical boys. They're great brothers. They truly just fight like typical, but they have a great relationship. They're active in sports like most Southern Minnesota boys. They like the football, baseball, basketball, and golf. It's so we're always running around, but it's a lot of fun.
So you're a very busy mom with
Yeah.
16 and 13, basically chasing them to every event.
Yeah.
But now you have a
Definitely.
driver at least.
I have a driver, and he's a good driver.
Good.
Yeah.
And
Does
how
a great
about
job.
how about Luke? What is he's still flying?
He is. Yep. So he's a pilot. He flies private corporate. So the benefit of that is, he did do airlines as well, and was a pilot for a regional of Delta, and it was a great experience. He's a fantastic pilot, but the benefit or the draw of that drawdown was that he was gone a lot, and the boys were little, so he missed out on a lot of their growing up. And so when he had the opportunity to leave the airlines and go private, it's great that he's home a lot. You just don't always know his schedule, which is the drawdown, but it's really worked out well.
Awesome.
He works for a great company. They treat us well.
Cool. All right, so I'll keep the timeline moving. 2013 into the private practice, and you said about 11 years, which I'm probably got my dates wrong because you've worked here longer than that. So what led you to look at an opportunity with Tailwind to become our first ever in-house counsel?
Yeah.
When did that happen? And, why did you make that decision to leave where you were a partner and as a private practice? And then that'll kind of transition us into the Tailwind story.
Yeah, definitely. So when I was at the law firm, what was great about it was the experiences I was getting, but it's demanding. I mean, you live a life of having to make sure that you have a billable hour, that you're bringing enough funds in. So it's a lot of late night work. And with Luke flying and gone a lot and the boys little, it just was a hard to struggle to make sure you'd got everything going and doing everything you need to get done. So I actually had a client reach out to me when I was at the law firm and asked to come in-house with them. And that was 4.0 School Services School Bus Company. It was a great experience. So I left and I was there for 5 years with them, did a lot of their legal work, getting them all ready to go with HR, contracts with the school districts. A lot of those needed items, but then also it was a lot of financial stuff. So, which was great. It's great to have that challenge because you don't do that every day as a partner at a law firm. But I was doing, help preparing for taxes, balance sheets, apply for loans, all of those things with equipment, driving school bus, those type of things. But whatever it took.
You still have your license, right?
No, I let that go.
Oh, I thought you were still a school bus driver.
No.
Okay.
Like I say, I was retired.
Okay. Gotcha.
I retired. But no, it was a great experience. But then it got to be a point where I was fixing all the legal matters and they had great forms to get them going. And it was more financial. And I didn't go to school to be in finance. So I missed the legal piece. I heard that Tailwind was interested in exploring a in-house option. And so I bid at it.
Okay. Well, that will kind of transition into part 2. We're going to talk about your Tailwind journey, which is started in 2019, end of 2019. And you've also, I mean, similar to your pre-Tailwind path, it's had a lot of, curves in the road, and it started as one thing and has moved into multiple different things. So excited to bring that to everyone. And we'll get into that next.
We love to play games on our podcast to get to know our guests a little bit better. This one is Never Have I Ever. I promise it's a PG work edition version, but you're just going to hold up your paddle with I have, or if you've never done it. Okay. So the first question is, during work, never have I ever lied about my age.
Nah.
I don't think so. I forget my age sometimes, but I don't think I've ever lied.
All right.
Failing to disclose isn't lying. Right?
No, that's not lying. Yeah, that's not lying.
So yeah, we're good.
You're good.
Never have I ever fallen asleep at work.
Oh, never. There's too much going on.
How would you fall asleep?
I don't know. Maybe
I don't know.
was that Bryce's question?
No. Okay, next one. Never have I ever lived with a coworker.
I mean, I'm married.
You're kind of,
Also, I've had like 2 or 3 employees rent at my house, so yeah, that seemed targeted. Okay.
Never have I ever played a prank on my boss. I don't think I have. You have. Just say you have. You don't even have to think too hard, probably, about what it might
What's
be.
a prank?
I don't know.
Never have I ever Googled myself.
Oh, never.
I definitely have.
Wow, I just have one side that doesn't also.
But I have to be like really specific. Like, I have the most common last name in the world. Like, you're not gonna find me if you just Google my name. So you gotta see what's out there.
Never have I ever fallen in love with a coworker.
No. We'd have a whole nother segment if I said I have.
Never have I ever had to do my annual reviews with paper that was flooded from the bathroom water.
Yeah. When I office down here,
Yeah.
the Ummy's bathroom had a little issue and it came through my ceiling. And
I remember that day.
yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That's not cool.
These are very targeted. Very.
Okay, the next one is never have I ever dressed up as a mascot. You should probably say I have, because we're probably going to overlay a photo of you dressed up as a squirrel.
Oh.
That's not a mascot, was it? A squirrel? Oh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. See, look, they already have all the answers.
They do.
There's no mystery.
They do.
Okay, this is going to be the last one. This came from Dave. Never have I ever presented at an all-staff summit with a black eye.
Oh.
Well, technically, it wasn't an all staff.
Okay, put it up. I have.
These are all about me.
It's all about you.
It was too hard to find things.
Good.
Krystal's just too perfect.
Yeah. She lawyered
Or
up.
boring.
She lawyered up. Krystal, so
Okay.
we are into your Tailwind journey, which has been really fun. Got to work with you for the last almost 6 years.
Yep.
So we were growing a lot, or not, we were starting to think about growing a lot.
We were thinking about it. Yeah.
And a lot of transactions and a lot of legal work that was, being farmed out to third party and outside counsel.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the opportunity and discussion to come on as Tailwind's first ever in-house counsel. So
Yeah.
what excited you about that, and how did you come to that decision to join the team?
Yeah. Really fun. And it was different. It was big. I was starting something new. Had never been a in-house counsel here before. Didn't know what that really looked like. Nobody did, which was a blessing and a curse. But no, when I applied to be the in-house counsel, it was actually pretty interesting. I think I had 4 or 5 interviews. I had to go first through Reggie, and then I had to have an interview with Michael. Then I had an interview with Kyle. Then I had an interview with our outside counsel, Justin Weinberg. And that part was just, it was fun.
They put
it
you
was
through
stressful.
the ringer.
I was through the ringer. I'm kind of a big deal, you know, like I make sure it's right. But it was fun because, you know, the last piece with the interview with Justin, I'd had classes or cases against him. So we had just caught up, and he's like, "No, you're the one. We're going to make sure this happens." So it was really fun. But just coming in and, you know, like you said, thinking about doing transactions, I think the first sale happened shortly after I had started. We were buying right away. And then it was just trying to see, you know, is the reaction or the relationship, I guess I should say, with the outside counsel, but then also knowing what we were kind of doing on our own, that we now had the benefit of having me look through it and review it. But it was an interesting time. And if you think about it, 6 months in, COVID happened. So it was a start of learning transactions. What does that look like? They're complicated in structure. You know, I was used to doing farms or, you know, single family residences, not big, you know, structures of all different organizations that are, you know, part of the structure of when you purchase it, plus just what all goes into it for due diligence and everything. But so it was a quick learning curve, you know, kind of thrown into the trenches of just figure it out. But then also really kind of being a resource for all the sites too from the get-go was really interesting, super helpful. I felt more comfortable around landlord-tenant stuff. So when the transactions was kind of the learning curve, at least I felt like I could go somewhere with the landlord-tenant and figure it out. But so that was fun. And then, you know, like I said, then COVID happened. It was a whole new world.
Same for me. I
Yeah.
mean, we kind of moved into leadership positions at the same time, like
Yeah.
summer of 2020, fall of 2020, and it was like, welcome to your new job. I'm dealing with the operational
Yep.
hazard of whatever COVID brought, and I know we worked together a ton at that time.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been what I wanted to have daily meetings with you about every single city, every single county, every single state has a new law today and a new restriction today, and it was.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's in the past, but
Yeah, you and me both. But gosh, we learned a lot.
yeah,
And I'm proud of how we did it,
yeah,
because we saw so many other companies in the industry by all rights, it made sense to do a conservative approach, just shut down,
or more of a blanketed approach,
blanket.
right?
Yeah. But with us, it was constant. We were talking to the site staff almost daily.
Mm-hmm.
It was a daily research. It was stressful, but it was good to have that support system for them, and we benefited in the end.
Yeah. We went down like as granular as like measuring the square footage of the gym,
Yeah.
because there were certain like X square feet can have X amount of people per time, and like we're putting up like restrictions on number of people and how
Yep.
many are in there at once and the disinfecting. Like looking back, it's crazy that we
It's crazy.
did all that, but
Yeah.
I think we came out really strong. So
Yeah, we did. There's been a lot of those firsts that we did. You know, think about when the NIL contracts came out.
mhm.
Were we able to do those right away? There's just been so many changes in the industry in the last 6 years because of outward events
Yeah.
that we've adapted to, and it's been kind of fun to be part of that process.
Yeah, that's something that's really cool to talk about too. You know, the NIL is normal now.
Yeah.
In college athletics, guys are making $10 million to play quarterback now.
Yeah.
But I recall like the week that got passed, as you know, athletes can earn on their name, image, likeness. I walked right into your office and I'm like,
Yep.
we might be wrong, but let's be first.
Let's be first.
So
Yep.
I think in a day we drafted up a agreement between our properties and an athlete. And looking back, it's very funny because we have a starting NFL quarterback, a starting NFL running back, 3 other NFL guys now that I think we signed like $1,000, $2,000 NIL agreements with.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy, Brees Hall, some of the Iowa State guys, and
Yeah.
rewind or fast forward the clock to today, that would probably be a multi-million-dollar agreement now. So, but it was awesome. We went down and met with them, went through the agreement, and got them signed up. And now it's just normal, but we were pretty cutting edge there. So
Yeah, that was fun.
yeah. So you got to, immerse yourself in all different things, and that's kind of what's unique about being in-house counsel is what's the job description. It's
Whatever
literally
it takes.
whatever comes that day. So
Yeah.
obviously, heavy on transactional work,
Mhm.
working with buyer, seller, outside counsel, title company, lender, all those types of things. But then it's just all these curveballs thrown all the time. There's a tenant landlord matter. There's a like an NIL thing or a
Yeah.
COVID thing. So I have to assume that all of that just thrown right away really accelerated the understanding and growth of the actual business. It became more than just I'm the company's attorney
Yeah.
and I just do legal. Like you got to immerse yourself in kind of all facets of the business.
Yeah, it was really fun. At the end of the day, when I first started, you always worry about whether you're going to do the right thing, right? Are you going to do a good enough job? Are you going to make a mistake? And I got to say, from our owners, especially because we're working directly with them, that stress wasn't there. It's like, just do your best, do the right thing. If you think it's the right thing at the moment, don't worry about it. I mean, it's that pressure being alleviated from that point was really welcoming, because then I could just focus on, I mean, the rest of the stuff's pressure enough, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we had such a big growth year in 2020 and 2021, especially 2021, probably the biggest growth year to that point, right? And it was constant, and it was super, super fun to do those deals with the Greystar year is what I call it. But
Yep.
and then just learning and fine tuning what we can do to act fast when a transaction was getting close to an issue, just handling it in the moment, and it really building the relationships with you guys and you and with the owners, of just making sure that whatever it took to get that deal done, we got it done with
Yeah.
the lenders. I mean, that you just really worked with everybody and able to get across the finish line.
Yeah. And it's a testament to the partners and founders of Tailwind, because I had the same experience.
Yeah.
I went through into my leadership positions where just always like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? And
Yeah.
I got the same message loud and clear that you're here because we trust you, and making mistakes is okay.
Yeah.
Like we don't crucify you for making a mistake.
Yeah.
We learn from mistakes, we move on, but the support is always there. And for me, that accelerated so much growth, just having that confidence. And it sounds like that happened for you as well.
For
And
sure.
it allows you to just learn more a lot faster and be able to elevate in your career. So
Yeah.
I want to talk a little more about when transactions got really prevalent. So,
Yeah.
Tailwind was a very kind of slow and methodical growing company in our student housing portfolio from 2016 to 2020. A normal year would be buy one property, maybe buy two if we were getting aggressive.
Yep.
Sell a property every 3 years, maybe something like that.
Yep.
And 2021 saw 6 acquisitions, a couple dispositions, a couple refis. Like I think we were 300 million in volume in 2021, and I don't know if we had ever done 100. So that's where I feel like you and I like really linked arms and said we're going to figure out how to do this.
Yep.
And it looks a lot different today,
A lot
as
different.
we've grown.
Yeah.
But just talk to us about acquiring 6 deals over the course of, I think it was April through December. So 6 deals in about 8 months, with a very, very large institutional seller in Greystar, was a great partner. What did you learn through that, and what did that experience kind of do for the future of you and also of Tailwind?
It was a huge learning year. Huge learning year. I mean, we, to your point, we just figured it out, right? It was a lot of late night conversations of quick messages of, oh my goodness, this is happening, or let's figure out the problem here, or is there a way around it? But it was so much new for Tailwind too. It was new capital relationships, because all of a sudden you had the growth, new lending relationships. I mean, it was the first time we've really done or kind of tapped into that, the debt fund, or the kind of the larger institutional style lender. So it just came with more challenges too, right? They weren't as easy to maybe work with as your local banks, but it was what we needed to get deals done. I think Miami, and then all of those other issues that came across on that. And I think when I think of the Greystar deals, there's a few that are my favorites, but that one is just like has a stronghold in my brain, because it literally was Christmas, and it's it goes right through to New Year's Eve, and New Year's Eve I'm standing in my office just screaming into the phone because we just got to get this done.
Yeah.
But it was high stress, but it was totally worth it. I mean, at the end of the day, we're kind of stress junkies too, but
Yeah.
it was super fun. It was a roller coaster, but you learned a lot about what was the better way to do things. And I think the team now has a amazing process that they're definitely going to do it the
Yeah.
right way
They
and
kicked
be able
us
to hold that
they
volume.
kicked us out.
Yeah, they kicked us out. We're no longer needed, which is awesome.
But that's an important part of the story too, is,
Yeah.
you know, we learned out of necessity.
Mhm.
So we had what we had, you know. I'm not going to say you and I closed every deal. Lots of people were involved, but
Yes,
we kind of, as a 2-person team, led most facets of an acquisition. And,
Mhm.
you know, closing week, I'd be on site and we'd just be linked up on
I was always
speakerphone.
so jealous of that. You got to have the fun part. I'm
Well,
here having it. We're this is
yeah,
fun. Everyone's excited. I'm going to dinner, and I'm like, I'm going home.
that was after. But how did, you know, over the next, because the growth stayed consistent, 2022, 23, 24.
Just more
And
and more every year.
we realized that, okay, this can't be a 2-person effort. We
Yeah.
have to really build and scale out a team
Yeah.
that can do this more sustainably and consistently. So we'll get to the capital side next, but just talk us through the journey of the legal department at
Mhm.
Tailwind. It was just you for probably the first half, maybe even
Yeah.
a little longer.
Yep.
But how have you built out that team, and, you know, what does that team look like now? What is their role, and how has that changed for you?
Yeah, it's been so fun. But it was almost like I would get to that point and you just knew you needed to add a little bit more help, right? So the first person actually was Betsy. And I know that, you know, she was helping me so much every day anyway on a lot of the questions I had. Asked if she had any interest to come over and help me out on transactions. She knew so much of that with the history of Tailwind and on her finance background. So that was a great addition to help me out there. Held that tight for a little while, and then I knew I needed Sherry. And I had worked with Sherry for a very long time. She had worked, and what's great about her addition is she was involved in Tailwind before Tailwind was Tailwind, right? She helped a
Mhm.
lot with the closings on the single family houses from her prior experience. And I actually had tried to get her earlier, and now wasn't the time. I said, "You mean not yet?" So
Yeah.
she came. She was with that background knowledge she had, super awesome addition, and she's very talented. So then running that team for a while, it's just like and you know, in your department too, you get to the point where that's great, and then you start feeling the stress again. And I think that really came hold a year and a half ago, because at that point, you know, just naturally needing to start to raise capital, I was kind of dabbling in a little bit, try to act like I knew what I was doing,
Mhm.
and then hold also the legal side as well, and doing both. And we weren't slowing down on transactions. And as we were getting into a market scenario where you were needing more and more capital, you're getting less and less debt. That need was getting stronger.
Right.
So doing both, just completely honestly, was burning me out. I mean, it was tough. It was a lot of late nights working to try and keep all the balls in the air because I certainly didn't want to drop one. And then you have a family too, so it was tough. There was a lot there. So I know I had to phone a few friends, to say now's the time. We gotta add because this is getting to be too much,
Mhm.
which I hate to admit.
Yeah.
I don't do that easily.
It's good reflection though. I mean,
Yeah.
you've kind of always had your Tailwind journey of what is needed now, but then something comes up that this is now what I'm needed for.
Yeah.
And that means growing a team underneath you and building a team underneath you that can do what I used to do, because I have these new things that are most important to the company. So talk about bringing Natalie on, and that's
Mhm.
kind of how the legal team as it stands today gets rounded out.
Yeah. She is such a blessing. You know, what's great is with Natalie, and honestly, if you look back at probably anyone that I've built out in a department, it was never really a plan. You know, Betsy, I needed the need. She was interested. We had a great relationship, and she had so much knowledge absorb in. You know, Sherry had a background. I sought her out, and here she comes around. And it was honestly the same thing with Natalie. She had not applied. Um, we have such an amazing HR person in Zach, and he sought her out, knowing that she had the kind of the background
Yep.
and experience for it, and just really kind of went after her. And she she and I just talked about this yesterday, actually, because it's almost a year for her now.
Yep.
And she wasn't sure. And I'm like, today is the day. You got to tell me. And a lot of prayer and hope around. And here she is. And she has such, you always want to hire better than what you are, right? And
Yeah.
she is. I mean, she is so organized, much more than I am. She has such a great transaction background, and she's learning to be a little bit of a cowboy, which I told her she needs to be, which is fun. But she loves Tailwind, and that's something that you can't just get. And that was honestly my biggest concern. I knew we had it in Betsy. I knew we had it in Sherry. But you bring someone from the outside, are they going to love this company as much as I do? Because at the end of the day, that's our job as the attorney. You got to protect it and everybody in it. And she picked up on that so effortlessly, which was great.
Yeah. So just the 30-second fly through.
Yeah.
Sherry, Betsy, Natalie, Mandy, working with Natalie
and now. Mandy.
Yeah.
Recently.
Just very quick description, like what's their focus? And I know it's kind of all things, but
truly, what's great about working through that structure and the addition of Mandy is, you still can't do transactions on your own with as much as we do in a volume side. So Mandy is really there with her great background, relationship, and interest in getting that transaction organized and going and being that site, her right hand.
Yeah, kind of the operations side.
Yeah, you got it. So Natalie's really focused on that, but they still have a lot of the, the work to still to do on landlord tenant, any other contract that comes through for the company, an HR matter if it should happen. And Sherry really helps out with getting that piece organized and, feeding that with Natalie and getting answers out. And then, here I am to help advise them, pick up where they might need a little bit of help. But then, we work together on other corporate kind of wide type of contracts or relationships. Because with my knowledge and experience for the last 5 years, it's helpful to get any of those bigger agreements done.
Yeah. So your capacity as general counsel for the company is overseeing the legal department, the legal matters, really the protection of the company. For a lot of people, that would be a big job, and it is. But you mentioned about a year and a half ago the need for how Tailwind capitalizes deals is a unique way in our industry. It is a true friends and family network, which means more than just literally friends and family. But it's a lot of individuals, it's high net worth individuals, family office relationships. And through your involvement in the transaction, you kind of osmosis became involved in the capital side. And now have shifted a lot of your focus, still the general counsel oversight, but Natalie and the rest of the team are running a lot of that.
Yeah.
So as VP of Investor Relations, talk through how that started and how that's progressed and where it is today. Because you've also, much like legal, taken something that didn't exist, started doing it on your own, and now you have a team built out to lead those efforts. So just kind of take us through that journey.
Exactly. Not knowing what it was or what it looked like. And to be honest, I was an attorney. I didn't know what it meant to raise capital or to have a complete department. But when I was doing the transactions, Michael was raising the capital and I saw that happening. It seemed fun. I mean, there's a challenge. Like I said, we're stress junkies. So just knowing that, can you get the deal in? It's those wins. When an investor says, yeah, I want to go into the deal, it's really fun. It's addicting. But I saw that he was doing it. I wanted to try it. So I told him, kind of challenge him. I bet I can do it. And, one of those things. I know it's kind of hard to hear, but it was fun to do. But then when it was, this is a real thing now, and it's not just something you do just for fun or to try and prove them wrong. It's a need. It's a real job. And what I started to see when we were doing the capital raises is there was pieces that we were just missing. We were not following up with them, with the investors. We were not, being, I guess, professional or just taking it to that next level. Really having it be an actual intentional job and focus, because that's the relationships we want. Tailwind is about relationships. We don't want to be transactional in our capital. It's the people you want to work with. You want people that care about the company, that enjoy it, that like to see the growth, and we're entrusted with their money. So we need to take that seriously.
Yeah. It's it's the growth engine.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, we can fill the pipeline with as many deals as we want and, find lenders, but we have to find investors in equity that are excited and equally excited. So I think a big part of that role is telling the story, not just on a deal by deal, but the tailwind story, because track record is so important and who you are getting into business with is so important. And you've really grown and progressed significantly into that over the last year and a half. Whereas, to probably as recently as a few months ago, it's like
Yeah.
you like where the legal side is at, you're still involved, but my next kind of chapter in this journey is really wanting to build out, I think you said it, like sophistication of,
Yes.
what does our capital raise efforts and not just future, but how do we take care of our current investors? So
Yep.
just talk me through where you're at today with that, what your team looks like with that, and what's the outlook for it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. If you don't take care of the current, you're not going to get new. And if you think about it, we typically have anywhere from 50 to 100 investors in each deal. So you just need to make sure that that continues to grow. And to continue to grow that, how do you take care of them? Obviously, I can't do that on my own. Even though my focus in investor relations is truly that 70 to 80%, the legal team has it, but needed to make sure that there was a team that could take care of phone calls I can't always make, or just to build it up so you can grow that piece. And, by typical, the way that things have grown, I got Bryce. Bryce was interested in looking into this role after the marketing, and the marketing background was so helpful to have, because to your point, you're selling Tailwind, you're not selling, Huntsville. Because at the end of the day, the investors like that Huntsville deal, but they're going to invest with you because of who you are and what the business is. So Bryce was able to bring that background because he'd been with Tailwind for so long as well, and started so long ago, and in a different role. So all of that experience he was able to bring, and he's personable. People like him. They like talking to him.
I don't like him.
Well, I know you don't, and sometimes I wonder, but no, he's so great. He truly is so great. He's able to just be real, and I think that's the biggest piece. You can't be fake. You have to be authentic. You have to truly believe in what you're selling, and you got to believe in the company and able to do that, and we do. Anybody else that just comes in to be transactional, it's not going to work, and it's not what we're going to want. And he lives and breathes that too. He's a super support. And then with Betsy having a baby girl, we needed to bring on Alyssa, and she is just has been such a gift. She's smart. She's really just jived with us so well. You can tell she's already picking up on this is what's important. And she will be, such a great support to all of us as we keep growing in the capital realm.
Yeah. So as a team collectively, I mean, just for those that maybe don't have the internal knowledge, 50 to 100 investors per deal.
Yeah.
Call it 6 to 8 deals per year that you're raising money for. So what do those dollars look like? I mean, what is in a typical year, how much money are you raising, just in that network? And what goes into that? I mean, how many phone calls, emails, events, getting in front of people? I mean, that's really what the job is. So
yeah, we've really changed that. Before you're just making the phone calls back to the people who had worked with you before, and you can only do that for so long.
Yep.
So really wanted to grow that investor base. So, last year we raised $100 million in capital. So that was last year. If you grow any more than that, we're going to need more than that. But so we try to take down a path of, it's really kind of two birds with one stone when you do investor events. And I wanted to get, first of all, out in front of people, because we're always on the phone or always emails. We never did a lot of travel. And if you're going to gain trust and be able to get referrals from current investors, because that's the best way, you need to get in front of them. And so we started off last year or a couple years ago, I don't, it goes too fast, with just having events in our centralized locations of where our investors are, and just have it be easy, no pressure, just say hi, have a cocktail, a couple snacks, whatever it might be. And we went to Sioux Falls and Des Moines, and we had a get together up in the cities. And we were so excited if 10 people showed up. And but what we kept hearing was that they wanted a presentation. Tell us about the deal. Are we not here for this? Like, oh gosh, I didn't think you wanted the pressure, but they wanted to know. So this last year was more intentional on making sure that we did a presentation and brought more of the team with. You've gone to almost all of them, which has been really great because we want Tailwind to not just hear from me. We want, or the investors to just hear from me. We want them to hear from everyone at Tailwind. John's been great to have at the events. Every once in a while we get an owner to show up, Michael too. But it's been fun to have that presentation. And we've been in, again, Sioux Falls and Des Moines here. And we just went to Palm Springs because we actually have a huge group out there. And just to be able, we would never get to see them if we didn't go out there.
Right.
And that's shown a lot of, it's been a big win for them and for us because they like to be able to see us. They want to know that we're real. This is the person that I'm talking to. She actually is there.
Yeah.
And then they bring people. So now our average attendance is 25 to 30.
Oh, we had over 70 at once.
We did have 70 at one. I forgot
sell
that. That was Sioux
yourself
Falls.
short.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It's
No,
been fun.
I think what you talked about is really the most important thing. Like, what do I do in this job? Yeah, we pitch the deals and we got to understand the deals and it has to make sense. Like you're investing your money. There's lots of places you can place your money, but I think what you and the team have done such a good job of is building relationship and trust. Because at the end of the day, if you have investable dollars, you can go any which way with it. You want to invest with someone that you believe in, trust, and align with. And I think that's really what you guys have done such a great job at. And talk about the future. I mean, this is, in the grand scheme of it, it's a relatively new department, new venture. So what are you most excited about for the future it's called the investor relations department, but it's really all things, investor related. It's raising capital. It's taking care of the current. It's communicating with the current. It's taking care of the administrative. What are you excited for the future? And what does the future of the team look like to you?
I love that we're always changing. We're always fine tuning, so when it comes to even putting the deal decks or the packets together, that's a lot of work between Bryce and Alyssa, to getting out in front of everyone, to the software that we use. It's always trying to see what makes it better and listen and actually work on the feedback that we get from the investor class. But, I want to grow the friends and family investors. I want to double every year if possible. I mean, I know
that's on
that's huge. We had 75 new investors last year. I'm going to need a lot more than that to double, but we'll get it done. I mean, we'll get out there, and it's probably would be growth in the team. You're going to need someone else who can help raise the capital and follow up with investors, do those phone calls, the emails, really build on trying to make sure that the current investors have that great experience so that they bring more. And to do that, I mean, we're going to need all the capital we can get. And we want the capital to come from friends and family investors. We always have the option of institutional investment, which is fine. And it gets the job done. But it's not what we are. We don't want that to be our go-to. Don't want that to be our the only place we get it from. I mean, you lose what Tailwind is when you do that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a time and a place for it, but what we are and what works best for us and for Tailwind as a whole and for all of our employees is to utilize that friends and family.
Yeah. Awesome.
So growth, grow.
Yeah. We always, we have an ongoing fun battle. Like I tell Krystal that I've got way too many deals and you need capital. And then she says, I'm going to have way more capital than you have deals. So that's going to hopefully be our continued push and pull. And that's how we can continue to work together, just like we once did. So just reflect on your 6 years here. What are you most proud of? And I know that's such a hard question because it's going to be everything, but what are you most proud of from people you've worked with, for yourself, and just the reflection of 6 years here and seeing how much Tailwind has grown?
I think I'm just most proud of being a part of it. Truly, being able to roll with any change, to bring whatever's been needed. I mean, if you would have asked me 10 years ago whether or not I'd be involved in capital raising, I'd say you're insane.
Yeah.
And you just never know where your path is going to go, and just be open to that. So I think just, again, most proud of being a part of it. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. And just rolling with whatever has been needed at that point and not being afraid to start something new. and just doing it.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, we've had offline conversations about this, of course, but
Yeah.
you set your whole sights and career on I go to law school and I'm an
Mhm.
FBI
Yeah.
and now you're still a lawyer and you'll always be a lawyer, but a significant amount of your time is doing things other than that. So was there any sort of identity, not to say
Oh dear
crisis, but like
goodness.
any
Yeah.
depth to that and any struggle through that?
For sure. For sure. I mean, yeah, that was huge. I mean, at the point where I mean, it's a confidence thing too, right?
Yeah.
When you're confident in knowing what you've been doing over the last 15 years, and then all of a sudden you're going to be talking to people. Lawyers don't talk to people unless we have to.
Yeah.
Um, but it's and failure. I mean, lawyers don't take failure well.
Yeah.
And am I going to be able to do it? Is it going to be a success? Am I going to let anybody down? Is it going to work out the way everybody wants it to? That's all of those things go through your mind and really hold hard to you. And it's a struggle, but you have to just trust and believe, and with a lot of support.
Yeah.
But yeah, dying to the fact that you have to be involved in everything and have to be, in charge of everything from the head legal of
Mhm.
Tailwind, and just knowing that this is the need, and just go with it and it'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, I certainly don't think we would be here without, you having that mindset and attitude. And it is hard. Everyone, successful companies, the leaders of the company adapt and do what's best for the company at the time. And it might be a total change in direction and path. And people that are stubborn and stuck, that's what makes companies get stuck too. So,
Yeah,
you
that's true.
should be very, very proud of that. And you've built 2 teams now, which is really, for me, and I'm sure for you, like the most rewarding part of the job is to be able to build a team and see them grow and, provide them future upward mobility in the company. And I know we're both super excited as to what the future of Tailwind looks like. Continue to grow the real estate, continue to grow the teams, continue to grow that investor base, double every year is what I heard. So we'll talk about that. But yeah, anything in closing? It's been super fun to hear your story from start to finish. I guess this is wrapping close to the finish, but
Yeah.
anything we missed, anything that you want to close with?
No, just in reflection, one other quick thing is, I talked earlier about how, but for the leaders saying don't worry, or the owners about, don't worry about screwing up. You can do this. That goes into every role, right?
Yeah.
The senior leaders and owners, that's the only way I'm able to do the role I am now, knowing that there's not that pressure that you got to perform. It's all, you put it on yourself. But, and that's what makes Tailwind, that's what's going to make Tailwind grow.
Yeah.
And have no limits, is the leadership that we have. So it's super fun. I absolutely adore my job. I adore everybody I work with. It's so fun, and I really can't wait to see what happens next.
Awesome. Well, thank you to Krystal for joining us, episode 1 of season 2 here on Tailwind Talks. We hope you guys really enjoyed that. I certainly did, and learned a lot about Krystal and about the legal department, about investor relations, and we're excited to bring you more episodes throughout the year. As always, if you have ideas, if you're an employee or an outside listener, someone you'd love to hear from, hear about, topics, things like that, you can always email our marketing team for ideas and content. And until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.